Okay, so I'm just drawing in an imaginary line there that I'm going to cut with this, and it'll probably get deep enough just by me doing this, because it doesn't need to go real deep. But now I need to chisel this off up to that imaginary line and keeping my angle about the same. And I have no idea how I'm going to do that either. Part of my problem is I don't want to chisel that way. But then again, on the other hand, I don't know how else I could do it. Okay, I have it anchored to some degree. Is it anchored really good? No, I wouldn't say that, but it's anchored. And what I'm going to start off by doing is just trying to get the depth of this about right up here. So I know it needs to be about a 1/16 of an inch step approximately. That's just a guess. I'm just doing it by eye, guys. So now the thing is, I want to chisel this off at an angle up to that depth. And this is going to be the hard part without chipping it out and busting it out and all that. I think I'll try cutting back and forth across here. Yeah, cutting across something like this is better than going lengthwise, because going with the grain, when you're cutting across at a 45, then you're not grabbing a particular piece of grain, and you can control it a little bit better. If you just go one direction with the grain, you can either pick it up and bust it out a big chunk, or create all kinds of issues. So I'm just going to try to do it, just sneak up on it, like I say. Tell you what, my little finger planes never fail me, so I'm going to use that. That's perfect right there. I should have done that first. These little suckers, I can use these things, and this little bitty 8mm plane just gets in anywhere. This is perfect. Yeah, now I've got control. It doesn't like to cut this direction, unfortunately, but it does cut this way. Yeah, I'm cutting uphill this way. It doesn't like to cut that way, but cutting at this angle here, across or at a 45, it's cutting it like butter.
On my last day on earth, when my last words will be heard, I want you there to hear the story I will tell.
That's pretty close, so I'm going to do a test fit now and see how that's looking. Let you get a close up there. You can see the step in that now. There's a step right there, and then this is at an angle, and then this is flat. Well, that's approximating what I think I have to do here. Let's see if we did it. Will it go in there? Might have to do some shaving again. I want it tight, that's for sure, but you can have it too tight. I think we're really close. Very close. You can see there we're getting very, very close. The reason I haven't sawn the rest of this off there yet is this gives me the fudge factor, the error factor. If I screw up, I've still got plenty of material to work with. In fact, I won't cut it off till I'm just about done. But I think we're almost done. It's getting there. Tap it down with this just to, yeah, that made a difference. It's better on one side than the other, so there you go. I'm trying to even them out, so that looks pretty even. So now what I'm going to do is trace around this with a, well, I'm going to get the fine pencil and I'm going to trace this, and then I'm going to check the depth and see if I'm deep enough. And now I got to get it out of there. Well, that's not too bad. You can see the depth that I'm in there with the pencil mark, I think. So that's not too bad. That's pretty close to full depth. I'd say that's pretty close. We're not too far off here. Really what that's telling me is I just need to make this a little deeper, I think. I'm going to try a little bit of sanding here, mostly for cleanup, not for removal so much. Just trying to get a visual on what that angle should be. Boy, it's really hard to say on that angle. What I'm going to do is knock off just a little bit of the corners, because the corners can hang you up and they don't provide that much strength, but yet they can really hang you up. So I'm going to try to knock off just a little bit of the corners, not a lot, just enough so they don't hang me up. Try to put it back in there one more time just to see what's going on. Really getting good. It's running real parallel down here, as you can see. It's running real parallel. There's a gap there of a 32nd of an inch, I'd say. I'd say we're awfully close. I think we just need to do a little bit more of what we already have done, and we're done. Wow, I can't believe it went that easy so far. I shouldn't even say that, because I'm not done yet, and it could always blow up in your face. Been there, done that. So basically, I'm just going to do a little more of what you saw me do already. I'm going to do some more carving here, and I'm not going to film that, and I'm going to test fit it again. All right, I've done 3 more rotations of that. Actually, 2 of cutting this down back here, and then I just took the file, and there was just the tiniest bit of touch up here without touching here, and all I did was just do this, and that's not, you can tell, removing very much, but I think it ought to fit just about perfect. So let's see if it does. I don't know. We'll know here in a minute. Well, if it can be done any better than that, I don't know how. So there you go. I think that's as perfect as it could possibly be. And I'm going to now just draw an imaginary line here of where I want to cut this thing off. And I'm going to cut it off plenty tall. I mean, I can always chisel it, file it down, carve it down with the little finger planes, etc. to make it match. So I don't want to cut it off, too small or anything. So I'm going to go cut off the extra now that we don't need, and we're going to get this baby glued in place. Well, so there's what she looks like, put back in place after being cut off. It's still plenty proud, as you can see, but that's easier to remove wood than it is to put wood back on there. And so I'm going to go ahead and get her glued in place. It's a nice, snug, tight fit. It seriously couldn't hardly be fit much better, I don't think. I'm pretty happy with the way that fits. Again, this is one of those deals where, this one's easy to glue up, but it's one of those deals where you don't want to rush. You want to make sure that glue is everywhere. On the sides, on the bottom, everywhere it can be making contact. You want it making contact, because this is what's going to give this mandolin its strength and finally quit having this neck break. It's obviously broken several times before, that much I can tell, because I've seen wooden fasteners put in here, I've seen metal fasteners put in here, and the whole back's been off, so I know they've been working on this thing a lot. I bet it's been worked on at least twice on the neck before. But this time we'll end it. We won't have to work on the neck on this thing again. If that sounds a little bit arrogant for you, sorry, but it's going to fix it. It isn't going to be a problem again. I mean, stop and think about it from a common sense standpoint. We have now married the body to the neck. It can't come apart now. And that's assuming the glue holds, and I know how this glue holds, so I'm not worried about that. So what I'm going to do now is put my strong pressure right there on this, and that should probably even squeeze out a little more glue. Yep, definitely. And I'm gonna let her have it. You know, you can see the glue squeezing out back here, around here, around here. It's, you know, around here. It's definitely putting the hurt on it there. All right, we're gonna clean up that glue, and we'll let this set for a full 24 hours. Well, this set with the clamps on it for over 24 hours. So now it's time to clean it up to make it match. And the way I do that is take my little finger planes. I actually really enjoy using finger planes. They do really good work. You can do very detailed work with them if you get good at it. And I feel like if I'm an expert at anything, it's probably using a finger plane. When you learn how to use them, you can set that little lip right there. You can just kind of come up there, and you can feel that the blade's going to start cutting right there, and then you just start right there at that spot. You know, that way you're not going to, you know, accidentally carve something you're not supposed to carve. So you can be very precise with them. So it's going to take me a little while to carve all this down. I don't know that I'm going to show all of that on video, but I'll show you when I get real close and show you the rest of the shaping. Okay, I have it rough carved to shape on the top here. You can still feel it a teeny bit, but it's pretty darn close. So before I go any further with that, I'm going to take a small chisel and start working this down. By the direction of the grain, I don't have to worry about chipping off a big chunk here because I'm going with the grain. So if I was going into the grain, that would be a different story. This would be a very tedious carving, but I'm not too concerned about it breaking because I'm going the right way with the grain on this. That's getting close, but it's going to need some more. This side here doesn't need much. I actually got this side a little small. In fact, if anything, it could be a hair bigger, so I can't carve anything on that side, but I can carve some right here on this. So we're getting pretty close. Needs to be carved right here. Now here's where I could chip out a big chunk. If I go back this way, which is what I need to do, you can really chip off a big chunk accidentally because I'm going against the grain. But on the other hand, if I'm really careful and I only carve just a really thin amount, it should be okay. But boy, going this way, you really don't want to take a bite. You want to make sure you're carving as thin as you can carve. So I'm going to keep working on that some more and just all the detail, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm finished. Well, I'm very nearly finished with this, but I've still got the least little bit of detail carving. I just sharpened this chisel again to get it really sharp so I won't have any blowouts and chip outs or anything.
Before my spirit rises high above the white cloud-filled sky, please be there to hear my last words on earth. My last words on earth will be spoke with you in mind, and I'll talk about a good life, how your life enriched mine.
That's really feeling pretty good. I'm not even sure what to try next. You know, a tiny, small scraper, but actually I think the scraper on an X-Acto knife would probably be my best bet. I'll get a real sharp blade in here, or sharpen this blade, one of the two, and then I'll try some scraping. Quite honestly, I can't really feel it in places. Like right there, I can't feel that. I know you can see it, obviously, but it's blended in so well that you really can't feel it. And that's what I'm going for. Okay, I think that's as good as that can be done. Now, we're going to take a little piece of sandpaper here and try to just clean this up. It's going to sand the mandolin a little bit. It's going to be the ugly duckling thing again. We're going to make it look worse again before we make it look better. But that's kind of the nature of the beast.
Most of all, I want to say you've been good to me. I hope you're there to hear my last words on earth.
For my money, it's still a little bit proud on this side, so I'm going to keep knocking some more off of here. That's about as good as I think I can do. If it was any better than this, it wouldn't look like I did it. So, there you go. Well, that's about as much as I think I can do to it. So, I'll show you the next step here. What I'm going to do now is put a little bit of dark brown in here. It's more than I need, I'm sure. I'm going to then try to put just a couple of drops of black in here because I want to darken it up some more because I know it's not dark enough. I'm just going to guess that that's good enough. And I don't know. I'm colorblind. What do I know about colors? All I know is I can get close. But getting them just right, I'll never be a finish expert just because I couldn't be if I wanted to be. Alright, so I'm going to just mix that all up, the black and the brown there with my paintbrush. And that looks pretty dark, but it's not dark enough, I don't think. For my eye, that needs more black. But that's just my eye. I hope your eye looks the same with it.
Please don't be sad. You're a perfect wife. You were there through the good times and the sad.
I'm going to try to touch up these other spots here that I tried to clean them up because they were pretty messed up even before I started, but obviously more messed up now. That's looking pretty good if you ask me for a color match.
Before I leave you on this earth, you gotta hear my last words. Please be there to hear my last words on earth. My last words on earth will be spoke with you in mind. And I'll talk about our good life, how your life enriched mine.
Well, that don't look horrible. That looks pretty good if you ask me. Like I said, it's you know, I don't have any finish on this yet, so this is just the dull color. If I blend it out here a little bit further, I have a feeling it'll even make it better. There you go. We're getting real close. I'm going to let that dry for a while. Okay, I'm just going to be brave and think that match is good enough and just go ahead and put some sanding sealer on here. This is lacquer sanding sealer.
Most of all, I wanna say you've been good to me. I hope you're there to hear my last words on earth.
Well, that's looking pretty darn fine to me. So I'll give that a hour to set up good, and then we'll probably coat it again with the lacquer sanding sealer, and then probably another coat of regular either spray-on lacquer or brushing lacquer or something. We'll do some more to it, I'm sure. So I'm just putting a little bit of brushing lacquer on this now. I've already put sanding sealer on it. This will make it look pretty good, I think. And I'll be able to blend this in with the regular finish, I think. So that's what I'm doing. Looking pretty good. So we'll let that sit and dry for a couple hours and put some more on. Well, 1 coat of sanding sealer and 2 coats of brush on lacquer later, you can see that that's still not sealed. It's just, that's my whole point about sanding sealers. Sanding sealers just suck. They don't work at all. I don't care what anybody says. They're just total crap. And I've tried several different kinds. In fact, I've got a whole shelf full of them. And every one of them, in my opinion, does the exact same thing, which is nothing. So I don't even know why I even try them anymore, because I'm so aggravated with them. Anyway, I'm going to put a little bit more finish on this. Right now, this is just brushing lacquer. And so I just keep coating it with brushing lacquer till it finally takes. And eventually it will. It's been several hours since I put the last coats on here, so it's very well dried by now. The parts that were already coated with finish look pretty good. But these dry wood parts, you know, they're not coated very well at all. Anyway, that's my sad story. I'm sticking to it. Sanding sealers, grain fillers, all those things are just total bogus. Now that I got this thing strung up and tuned up, I'm checking the action up here at the 1st fret, and it's quite high actually. And it's a little bit high through here, but I don't want to lower it any more back here if I don't have to. I would prefer to lower it up here right now. And whatever I lowered up here, half of that will work at the 12th fret as well. So, I don't think I need to lower it a ton, but every little bit helps. So, here we go again, loosening the strings. And you just have to do one at a time, and most important thing is you keep your angle about like your peg head angle, and you don't change that. That angle there just now took me to the back edge of this. When you start that angle, what you want to do is you look down in there and you make sure that you're filing all the way to this inside edge, if you will. And you want to keep it on one continuous angle all the way to the inside edge, because that inside edge is the most important part. That's where you want your string to stop. I'm just going to put a little tension on it, and I'm just checking the action to make sure I'm not too low yet. So it's not quite deep enough yet. Again, this is the kind of thing you want to sneak up on. You don't want to try to take it all in one filing. It takes multiple tries on this to do it well. You'll have to do it 6, 7, 10 times. Sometimes more than that. Sometimes I get away and I don't have that many attempts, but other times it takes a lot. I'll try to zoom you in here a little bit closer. It's starting to hold it there now. And as long as it's holding the pick, you're probably good. I'm going to tune it back up to pitch. Or at least put some more pressure on it and check it again. Yep, that's snug now, and it's actually lifting the string just the teeniest amount, and that's okay. On your E string, that's okay. On the bigger strings, you want it to just be snug but not really lift the string. should help me here at about the 7th fret. It should probably help it hold that string, the pick, a little bit. It's just about right there. It's touching it. It's just barely trying to lift the string. So it's still probably a hair high back here, but we're going to keep adjusting these other strings. I'm going to do the rest of them off camera. You've seen what I've done there, but I'm going to keep lowering this other E and these 2 A's and get them down a little bit. Then I'll do the final adjustments back here. Well, after the nut adjustments, this did make quite a bit of difference down here. So it's actually holding the pick at the 9th fret, which, you know, is good, or 10th fret even. So yeah, doesn't quite hold it at the 12th, but that's asking a lot, really. And that's pretty darn good, and the action up here is just nice and easy. Time to put the finishing touches on this mandolin, and I need to drill the holes back where the pins for the pickguard go, and quite honestly, I can't hardly tell where they were. I got a pretty good idea, but we'll just have to give it a shot and see what happens. I'm using this instead of the Dremel only because I don't have a small enough collet to hold this tiny drill for my Dremel. I thought I did, but I couldn't find one. Anyway, I found this one, and so I'm going to use it. Boy, it's going to be tough getting in there, but I think I can do it. And then I want to see if this will let me poke a hole. Well, actually, that's not going to be the place anyway, I don't think. I don't know. It's really hard to say. I'm trying to line up the hole that's in the side of the mandolin here, and then try to figure out where those pins go. It's working at opposite angles and stuff. It doesn't want to cooperate. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. See if that worked. I doubt it. I just have my doubts that that worked. So far, not so much. I think I'm going to have to shorten it up some to make it work better. Anyway, I'll fit this all up and show you what it looks like. I'll fit it up. I'm going to have to shorten this in that way a little bit. Well, just like everything else on this mandolin, this is fighting me too, and I can see they have CA glued this, I guess to keep the screw from coming off. Anyway, it's just not simple. Everything about this mandolin has been one surprise after another. I don't have a tiny wrench to fit this little tiny nut, so I'm having to do whatever I have to do. And this wrench fit this nut a minute ago, but I can't get it on there now. There it is. Oh, I knew it. Well, there you go. This thing is just fighting me every step of the way. So what I think I'll do, of course, if I do it that way, if I use their spot that they've got, look at that, it's going to sit on there. You don't want that. Looks like they used a piece of Padauk underneath here, either Padauk or rosewood for the top part. It's been cobbled up quite a bit, you can see. Oh boy, I don't know where to start and where to quit. I'll figure something out. I'll show you what I decided after I decide it. Well, this is really proving to be a real pain in the neck. I'm putting a piece of felt under that because it's going to rattle if you don't. I cut this way down because it was putting tons of pressure there, and you don't want that either. That'll mute your top just to having all that extra pressure on there. So I've got a piece of felt between that and this now. That should keep it from rattling. And then I think I should be able to push this in here, and then of course that doesn't even get close to fitting that. Oh my gosh, there's just nothing about this that's working very well. And there's no way to go any lower with this because you see what the problem is. There's holes drilled in right here. Maybe you can see it. And here and here. And the problem, you know, I can't go any lower because there's nothing left to go lower to. You know, it's just is what it is. That's as low as I can go. It goes in there and you can be made to go down to that, but you have to force it. But I guess that's what I'll have to do, is I'll just have to force it down there and glue it in place, because that's really the only option I got. I wonder if this canopy glue would work. I'm going to try that because the CA glue just gets everywhere and it doesn't always cooperate. And this stuff here, if it does get anywhere else, you can always wash it off. It's just water soluble. But it's good for plastic, and it's good for gluing plastic to wood, and that's basically what we're doing here. So what I think I'm going to do is just get me a small clamp and squeeze this together. That looks like the right kind of clamp for the job, so I'm just going to set this on a shelf and let it stew for a few days and see if that holds. Well, my friends, several days have passed on this mandolin since I finished it. And I wanted to give it several days before I concluded this video because I wanted to be sure that it wasn't stretching or had any glue creep or anything like that. And I'll try to show you as close as I can there. It looks as good as it did the day I finished it. It doesn't look like anything stretched or pulled or anything like that. Now, I haven't tuned it for several days, so the strings are new. They're going to stretch, but let's just see how close we are to being in tune. Yeah, actually, I'd say it's been almost a week since I finished it. Well, we're dropped about 20 cents on the G. About the same on the D. Dropped about the same all the way across the board, which could be strings or it could be, potentially a problem. But I don't think I see any problems, so I'm just going to attribute it to the weather and the strings and things like that. The bridge is sitting up nice and straight on the top. It fits this odd-shaped top very well, and the top is very odd-shaped compared to most mandolins. And let's see here. It's got a decent sound. The Pickguard seems to be holding. I used the canopy glue to glue that on there, and it seemed to hold it down there real well. And I put felt in between the wood and the top, so that shouldn't rattle. I think we're in pretty good shape. Let's play it and see what it sounds like. Okay, let's just see what I can do with this. I haven't warmed up or anything, and the arthritis keeps my fingers really stiff, so it's a little difficult. Got a nice sound to it. At the risk of sounding something like a know-it-all, I think I do at least have a case here to prove my point that this tab is incredibly important. It's very obvious this mandolin's been worked on at least twice, I would say, on the neck, if not more. And anyway, the point is it doesn't seem to be creeping now. It seems to be holding tune, and it's, the setup on it's really good. I put the little wedge in there, and truly you can barely even tell there's a wedge in there. Look at it close. It's not perfect, but it's not bad either. It looks pretty good. And I think it's going to last a very long time like this. Now, I discovered something that I'm going to just predict is what caused this problem. You might say, well, how would you be able to predict that? Well, let me show you. You see this case? This case has no feet on it. And, you know, it has nothing to sit on it here. It has just these bumpers. Now, these bumpers, if they were on both sides, it would be no problem. But being in the middle like this, that is not good. Or it's actually sort of middle but off to one side. So when you set the case down, it has a natural lean. And you can pass it on this carpet, it sets much better than it does on a concrete floor. Right here, it sets pretty well. Watch what happens when I set it on the concrete floor over here. It just falls over. It wants to fall every time you set it down. Like if you're real careful about setting it, it'll set like that. But if you just set it down like straight like that and let go, look what happens. It just falls over instantly. Because it has to rock over on that foot and then it just falls. Now you might say, well, how could that cause the problem of all the problems with this neck? Well, it's quite simple. It's actually not rocket science, and I'm pretty sure common sense is telling me for sure that's what's happened here. Okay, keep in mind there was no factory tab on this. In other words, the binding went straight around here, the heel just was glued into the block. That's it. The neck heel I'm talking about. That's it. There was nothing here to tie this together. When that thing falls down flat like this with 8 strings on it, that's a heck of a shock to that neck. And it probably did that more than once in its life. And that would cause the neck to break on this. Will it break now with this tab on here? Well, my answer is I wouldn't want to take the chance. So I'm going to talk to the customer about that and suggest that he either get another case or put some kind of system on this one to keep it from turning over. That's my last word on the subject of this 2-point Alvarez mandolin. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.